In the past, a tachograph and a tachograph or diagram chart went hand in hand. However, digital tachographs are becoming more and more common in new vehicles. The digital tachograph simplifies and speeds up the recording and processing of data on driving times and rest periods for the driver and any other parties involved. While analog tachographs have to use numerous tachograph charts, a single card is all that's required for the digital tachograph. After submitting their requests, each driver receives their personal card with a memory chip. The driver's data on driving times and rest periods are recorded and stored on this card. In addition, specific cards are provided for companies, authorities and workshops. This means that everyone can access the data they need for their particular job. The following sections provide you with an introduction to the functionality and components of digital tachographs, taking the DTCO1381 from VDO as an example. You will also learn how these functions interact as part of the daily routine of all parties involved. If you work through all the sections in order, which should take about 30 minutes, you will have a good overview of the system and its application in the case of drivers, companies, authorities and workshops. If there is a specific issue that you would like to learn about, simply click the issue directly in the navigation above. The Contact section provides you with materials and access to further information if required. Since May 1st, 2006, the following applies for all new vehicles registered in EU member states. They must have a digital tachograph if analog recording equipment was previously mandatory for their vehicle class. This also includes vehicles in Switzerland, Norway, Liechtenstein and Iceland. As of June 2010, new rules apply for countries that are not in the EU but are signatories to the AETR agreement, like the EU member states. The AETR agreement defines cross-border rules for driving times and rest periods for transports by truck to the EU. Since June 16th, 2010, most AETR countries outside the EU have committed to equip new vehicles with a digital tachograph should they wish to travel to EU member states. Companies therefore have to check whether these regulations apply to their specific country. A general obligation to replace the equipment in all vehicles has not been introduced. The aforementioned rules apply only to new vehicles registered after the dates specified. In the case of a company that only uses routes located in AETR countries that are not members of the EU, no general obligation to integrate a digital tachograph has been introduced up to this point. However, special national rules may apply in certain countries. As a precaution, therefore, everyone should check which rules apply in their native country and in the countries to which they travel. If required, you will find more information on legal regulations for digital tachographs in the Contact section. With the DTCO1381 digital tachograph, VDO provides a device that complies with all applicable regulations, is easy to use, and has proved itself in practice. In addition to the tachograph, VDO also offers a system incorporating other devices, software and components in order to download the saved data, archive it and process it quickly and easily. Having completed the introduction, you will already be familiar with the core elements in the digital tachograph system: the recording equipment in the vehicle and the cards for drivers, companies, authorities, inspecting officers and workshops. The cards have a different appearance depending on the country in which they are issued, but they always perform the same function. The recording equipment is connected to the vehicle's speed sensor and records the driving activities in its mass memory. Each party must insert their card into the recording equipment in order to use it. The inserted card determines the operating mode and saves data relevant to this specific mode. In the case of a driver, for example, only their specific activities are saved on the card. An employer can use their card to access data on all journeys taken on behalf of their company. The DTCO1381 has a second card slot to facilitate inspections, as well as journeys with two drivers. All data on driving times and rest periods is therefore saved both in the recording equipment and on the driver card. But how can all parties access this data? Printing is one simple solution here. The built-in printer in the DTCO1381 can print the data in a variety of forms. The latest version of the device can also print graphical charts. However, printing proves to be impractical when users need access to large volumes of data and when it comes to archiving and evaluating data. A much more effective approach is to manage the data electronically. BDO offers a variety of professional tools and software solutions for this purpose. Companies, authorities, and workshops can read out, archive, and evaluate the saved data in a convenient manner. The data is usually read out via the download interface on the recording equipment or using a separate reading device for the cards. However, always remember the following. Before the recorded data may be used in the driving operation, the DTCO1381 has to be subject to an initial calibration. This initial calibration must be carried out by an authorized tachograph workshop. This is where the workshop card comes into use. As a single card, it provides access to the calibration function. During the initial calibration, some basic settings and data of the DTCO1381 are identified and programmed. This includes, in particular, the entry of the vehicle identification number, VIN, in the DTCO memory. Furthermore, vehicle and tachograph parameters are measured, checked, and programmed. These checks must be carried out every 2 years. Please note, if the DTCO1381 is used without an initial calibration having been carried out, this can be detected by an inspection and contravenes the regulations. The following sections demonstrate how the DTCO1381 is operated following initial calibration and how the cards of the various user groups are used. It also describes the essential functions that are available. This section deals with the most important processes and functions for normal driving operations with the DTCO1381. All functions and messages relating to operation are shown in the recording equipment display with text descriptions and icons. You will find more information on this topic and on the operation of the device in the operating manual. Important: before the first trip, the employer should log their company onto the DTCO1381. To do so, they must insert the company card into the recording equipment. The company is then logged on automatically. Once logged on, all subsequent activities are allocated to the company. Only then can the data be downloaded once again, archived and evaluated at a later stage using the company card. Once the company has been logged on successfully, the company card can be taken out by pressing the eject button. The driver can now begin driving. Ideally, the driver inserts their card right at the start of their shift in order to record as much activity as possible with the DTCO1381. The card is identified as a driver card and is read in automatically. After the card is read in, the driver can add activities manually if required. This is necessary for tasks that were completed when the driver card was not inserted. For example, if the vehicle was loaded prior to the journey or any rest periods. By adding such entries, the duration of these activities is added to the recorded working time in the digital tachograph. The process of making additions is described in greater detail in the operating manual. If no activities have to be added, the user selects No. They do so by means of the menu buttons, which are used for almost all entries on the DTCO1381. The up and down scroll buttons are used to select or change menus, functions and input values, in this case, for example, to change from yes to no. The OK button confirms the entries or starts a function. The narrow left arrow allows users to cancel or to go back to the previous step. The equipment is operated in a similar way to that of a modern electronic car radio or a simple DVD player. In our example, no additional entry is made and the user selects OK. The last step after inserting the driver card is to specify the current transit country. The scroll buttons are once again used to make a selection, which is confirmed by pressing the OK button. Once any necessary additional entries have been made and the current transit country has been entered, the journey can begin with the DTCO1381. As soon as the vehicle sets off, the DTCO1381 records this time as driving time. This occurs automatically. A simple steering wheel icon on the left of the display indicates the current driving time activity. An icon is always displayed here and indicates the current activity of the driver whose card is in card slot 1. Another activity, for example, is Other Working Time. The associated icon indicates 2 crossed hammers. The DTCO1381 automatically switches to the Other Working Time activity when the vehicle stops. In terms of driver operation, the prescribed brake times and rest periods are just as important as driving time and other tasks. The automatic changeover feature also helps in this respect. If the ignition is switched off, the DTCO1381 can switch to the brake time and rest period activity and displays the bed icon. Incidentally, if the actual activity deviates from the activity that the system automatically detects, the driver must manually change this beforehand. They can use the activity button above the card slot to do so. The DTCO1381 not only records activities, it also actively supports the driver by displaying automatic messages during the driving operation. When a message is displayed, the display's backlight flashes. Important messages include, for example, notifications about violations of speed limits, alerts about working hours, or alerts indicating that a brake is required during driving time, or notifications about device malfunctions. The DTCO1381 further supports the driver by displaying important data at the touch of a button. If the driver presses a menu button while driving, they will see the latest driving times and rest periods that have passed since their last regular break, totaling 45 minutes. When the vehicle is stopped, the driver can display even more data, such as the driving time over a 2-week period, the current duration of other activities, or all current values and events that are saved on the driver card. In order for all activities to be recorded, the driver card must be inserted in the recording equipment, if possible, until the shift has been completed. When all activities have ended, the driver removes the card by pressing the eject button. Before ejecting, the DTCO1381 writes the latest data to its mass memory and to the driver card. The driver must first specify the transit country when they end their shift. The transit country that was entered at the beginning of the shift is suggested as a possible entry. In our example, the transit country has not changed and is therefore entered. Finally, the DTCO1381 gives the driver the option of generating a daily printout of the data from the driver card. A daily printout may be required in some countries or due to special work rules. The driver should inform themselves of such rules prior to departure. No printout is required in our example. For this reason, the driver selects No. The card is now ejected and the driver's shift is over. This section provides information on what is required by the relevant authorities for a driving time inspection. It also describes the devices that are available for this purpose and outlines what the driver has to take into account in the process. The VDO inspection key is available for inspections. The inspection key automatically checks the data in the driver card and in the mass memory of the DTCO1381 and indicates whether suspicion of an infringement has been detected. The inspecting officer usually begins the inspection by checking the data on the driver card. For this purpose, the card is ejected from the recording equipment, as is the case at the end of a shift. The mobile card reader from VDO is available to read out the driver card. The driver card and the inspection key are inserted into the mobile card reader. Subsequently, the inspection key automatically loads the most important data from the driver card to its memory and analyzes it as part of a so-called quick check. The quick check lasts about 2 minutes. The result is displayed by means of a sound and red blinking LEDs. If the LEDs do not light up, then no suspicion of an infringement has been detected. The driver can drive on immediately. However, if the quick check does detect suspicion of an infringement, several red LEDs light up. Furthermore, other data is automatically downloaded from the driver card in order to carry out a more thorough analysis. If suspicion is detected during the driver card check, it makes sense to download the data from the mass memory of the recording equipment and to check this data as well. In order to have access to the required data and functions, the inspecting officer must insert the control card into the DTCO1381. By inserting the card, the inspection is documented for all parties on the control card itself, in the mass memory of the DTCO1381, and on the driver card. Subsequently, the inspecting officer connects the inspection key to the download interface of the DTCO1381. As in the case of the driver card, the key downloads the most important data for a quick check. If suspicion of an infringement is detected, the relevant red LEDs will light up at this point and other data will be downloaded for analysis. Using the USB connection of the inspection key, the data can be transferred to a computer for analysis and archiving. It must be possible for an officer to carry out a check even if they do not have these additional devices. For this purpose, an inspecting officer must be able to print out the data on the DTCO13. This affects the driver in the following manner. The printer drawer of the DTCO1381 must have a constant supply of paper. Furthermore, a spare roll of paper must always be available. The paper must be approved for use in the DTCO1381. The data on driver cards and in the mass memory of the recording equipment must be downloaded regularly and stored for a fixed period of time in keeping with the national archiving regulations. Generally, data must be downloaded from the mass memory at least once every 3 months. In the case of the driver card, this must be done at least once every 28 days. This section presents the devices and software solutions offered by VDO that help the employer to archive and evaluate the data. The company card is required in order to be able to download data from the recording device. Access via the download interface is only possible with this card. If the data is downloaded directly in the vehicle, the company card must be inserted in the recording equipment. The download key 2 is the best option for downloading data directly in the vehicle. It is compact, lightweight, and does not require batteries or any other power supply. The download key 2 is inserted directly into the download interface of the DTCO1381 and copies the data from the mass memory of the DTCO31 to its own memory. Using the USB connection, the data is then transferred to a computer and archived and evaluated there. The TIS compact key from the TIS compact AETR complete solution works in the same manner as the download key 2. This solution is intended specifically for Eastern European AETR states that are not members of the EU. In addition to the key, the package contains software from the Tachograph Information System, TIS, or TIS, which is used to archive, analyze, and visualize the data. TIS Compact AETR is intended for use by small fleets and is limited to displaying data from a maximum of 5 vehicles and 10 drivers. As a special feature, the TIS Compact Key offers a so-called quick data check to detect any suspicion of infringements against driving time regulations. If an infringement is suspected, special LEDs light up on the TIS Compact Key. The quick check and the LED display work in the same manner as the inspection key for authorities, which is described in the section entitled Inspection. The company card must be inserted in the DTCO1381 for the quick check. The TIS Compact Key from the TIS Compact AETR solution is intended only for internal checks in companies. It is not possible for this key to be used by authorities. TIS Compact 3 is the complete solution from VDO for small fleets in EU member states. The display of data is also limited to a maximum of 5 vehicles and 10 drivers. However, the TIS Compact 3 key does not have any functions for a quick check of suspected infringements. In addition to the data from the recording equipment, the data from the driver card also has to be archived. The mobile card reader from VDO can be used in this case. It can be used in any location and transfers the data securely from the card to the download key 2 or a key from the TIS Compact solutions. The data makes its way from the driver card to the computer via the stationary card reader. This is done using the USB connection. The TIS software packages facilitate the downloading and management of data. The TIS software is described in more detail later in this section. The download terminal DLT2 is an interesting solution specifically designed for large fleets with many drivers. The DLT2 is a standalone solution and saves the data from driver cards internally without an additional download key, a connected computer, or other similar devices. This allows data to be downloaded outside normal office hours. The saved data can be transferred to a PC via USB or loaded directly to a central server via a local network, which is a particularly convenient feature. The download terminal DLT2 has another advantage. The integrated graphical display can display driver card evaluations immediately and can also visualize the data in a very transparent manner. The DLD solutions from VDO offer the highest level of convenience and the greatest flexibility when accessing tachograph data. Data is transferred using modern wireless technology. It is no longer necessary to enter the vehicle. The company card is inserted into a card reader in the company's office and identified by the download software. The download can then take place at any time as soon as a wireless connection is available. The remote download device DLD short range uses a wireless LAN, Wi-Fi, for this purpose. WLANs can also be used for data transfer in the case of notebooks, for example. With a range of up to 300 meters, DLD short range is well suited to downloading data at a particular location. This makes it ideal for companies whose vehicles regularly come to the depot. DLD wide range is even more flexible. In this case, the mobile phone network is used for the download. In addition to the many solutions available for downloading data from a digital tachograph, VDO also offers high-performance software and services for archiving, managing and analyzing the data, for improving fleet management and optimizing driving time for the driver. One component of the Tachograph Information System, TIS, from VDO is the TIS Web solution. TIS Web is web-based. This means that employers do not have to purchase their own IT infrastructure for data management and therefore have access to the data from any location. All that is required to use TIS Web is a computer with an internet connection. TIS-Web can import data from all video download solutions and archives the data according to legal regulations. It can be flexibly adapted to suit the needs of a company, depending on the range of functions required and the size of the fleet. Extensive analysis options give the user an overview of the data, for example, using driver reports, vehicle reports, or the processing of any infringements against the applicable regulations. TIS Office is the ideal solution for fleets with their own IT infrastructure. TIS Office is network compatible and can be used in local networks on multiple computers and by multiple users. Additional software modules offer a similar range of functions to that of the TIS Web solution. A special company module supports larger companies with several users and a large number of vehicles. This section contains information on special features and notes that are important for the regular use of a digital tachograph. It deals with the following issues: procurement and validity of the cards, manual entries to document additional activities, structure of printouts, and the mandatory periodic inspection of the recording equipment. The digital tachograph can only be used in accordance with the regulations when the right cards are used for drivers, employers, inspecting officers, and workshops. However, the cards are not supplied with the digital tachograph and must be requested from the competent authority in the country in question. The cards will also be issued in this country. All drivers must request their card personally. An employer cannot submit requests for driver cards. Attention! All cards have a restricted period of validity. Once the cards have expired, they can no longer be used. You should therefore request a new card in good time before your current card expires. The normal period of validity is 5 years for a driver card and a company card, and 1 year for a workshop card. In the case of the control card, the period of validity depends on the regulations of the individual countries. A control card is usually valid for a period of 5 years. The Add Activities function was already touched on in the section on driving with the DTCO1381. Once the driver card has been inserted, activities that were carried out when the card was not inserted and were therefore not recorded can be entered manually. Typical examples of this include the loading and unloading of the vehicle. The regulations on digital tachographs stipulate that times for such activities must be entered as additional entries. However, additional entries are only permissible for the activities other working time, period of availability, and break time and rest period. Driving times cannot be changed or supplemented. In the case of an additional entry, the time the activity started and ended must be entered and the activity must be selected. In this case, other working time, for example. The driver must take into account whether the activity took place after the driver card was last removed or whether it occurred before the driver card was inserted. Each manual entry of working hours must be confirmed and is marked as an additional entry in the mass memory of the recording equipment and on the driver card. Even if all data is stored and evaluated automatically, printouts are often helpful during inspections, for example for performing checks or preserving evidence. The DTCO1381 can print out the data in various forms. For example, a daily printout of the driver card listing all associated activities, events and disruptions, the driving activities performed using the vehicle from the mass memory of the recording equipment, or violations of speed limits. Which printouts are available depends partially on the authorizations of the inserted cards. This means that a driver can only print out their own data with their driver card. An inspecting officer, on the other hand, can print further data on the vehicle. Each printout consists of a header, a main section and a footer. The header contains general data such as the time and type of printout, who was driving and the VIN. The main section contains the data that was selected to be printed. This data is divided into blocks. An icon at the beginning of each block indicates the type of data, for example, driving times, events and disruptions, etc. The footer provides space for a signature, if the printout has to be signed, as in the case of an inspection. To ensure that the recording equipment of a digital tachograph continues to function properly, it must be checked every 2 years. This check may only be carried out by an authorized tachograph workshop. Other inspection periods may apply in some countries. Employers should therefore find out how often the digital tachographs have to be checked in their particular country. This section outlines VDO solutions for workshops that provide services for digital tachographs like the DTCO1381. Only authorized workshops whose employees have been specially trained for these tasks will receive the required workshop card for digital tachographs. Workshop owners should find out whether further special accreditation requirements apply in their particular country. VDO offers the Compact Test Computer CTC2 for authorized workshops, a diagnostics tool that is used to maintain and calibrate the DTCO1381, among other things. The CTC2 is a compact, lightweight, handheld device with an integrated alphanumeric keyboard and display. Combined with the relevant accessories, it can be flexibly used on test sections and rolling roads. In the case of rolling roads, the connection is established wirelessly, which further simplifies its use. In addition to the DTCO1381, the CTC2 is also used to calibrate other legally compliant digital and analog tachographs. Furthermore, the CTC2 enables the data to be downloaded from the mass memory of digital tachographs. During the regular checks of the digital tachographs, VDO supports the workshops by means of the workshop software KIPAS2. KIPAS2 enables the proper generation of test certificates and installation plaques, while also allowing data gathered on checks, customers and vehicles to be processed and managed in a time-saving manner. All data that is read out from the mass memory of digital tachographs can be archived and managed. If required, the data can be exported and forwarded to the employer. KIPAS2 can also download the content of the workshop card memory and archive it properly in accordance with the regulations. As a result, all data on any checks carried out is available and secured. Generating test certificates and installation plaques becomes significantly easier with KIPAS2, since all information on customers, vehicles and checks is available in a single system. Another advantage arises from access to this information. If required, KIPAS2 can remind the user of upcoming inspections in good time. Together with the CTC2, the KIPAS2 workshop software is therefore a comprehensive solution for servicing digital tachographs.